Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Lily Reads. Okay, you guys, in this video, we are going to be talking about book ratings. There was a conversation going on over on Twitter where everyone was talking about, like, what does each number that you give a book mean? Because oftentimes I will give a book a certain rating and it will be a number, so a number of stars I would give a book, and people will be like, you really didn't like that book. Or I've seen times where people will be like, you really loved this book, and I'm just like, I really didn't like the book that much. And so I wanted to come and discuss, what do these stars mean in relation to our enjoyment of certain books. And I'm going to tell you what I think. I think in the end, it's subjective, it's up to you, but this is what I think. And I'm going to use some books for an example, because oftentimes I just feel like with certain star ratings, people put too much into them, and that's not necessarily what it means. So let's start with like the obvious, a 5-star rating. So I went to my bookshelf and I chose 3 books that I gave 5 stars, but I gave them 5 stars for different reasons. So the first book we have is a literary fiction book. It was shortlisted for the Women's Prize last year, and I gave this book 5 stars because of the type of book it is, because it's literary fiction, because it got awards. This book is perfect in every single way. Not only is this book enjoyable to me, but it's also well written. It also makes me think. It also does things I haven't seen before. It's something I think that can be taught in class. It's a book that I think will live beyond its years, live beyond its prime. I think it's amazing in every single way. So I gave this book 5 stars for that reason. This book is just crafted amazingly, and even though maybe because of its subject matter, this is a really tough book to get through, even though it might not be the most enjoyable read, the most exciting read, I think this has the most payoff of a book I read this year, and that's why I gave it 5 stars. But I use this as an example to show every book does not have to do this in order to get 5 stars from me, because even though I gave this 5 stars, I also gave the book Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute 5 stars this year. And this book will not win any major literary awards. This book is not reinventing the wheel when it comes to the English language. And yes, there might be some things that you like are a little cheesy, maybe even a little clunky, maybe a little unserious. But this book I really enjoyed. And what gave this book 5 stars for me is this is what I'm in the mood for. I love reading Black young adult. I love seeing little kids just be joyful and seeing Black kids be happy. This book had a lot of fun in it. I enjoyed the characters. I think more about the characters in this book than I think about the characters in this book. Even though this is the more complex novel, I think this is more of a feat when it comes to storytelling, but I like these characters more. And so when it comes to just sitting on my couch and reading an enjoyable book that makes me turn the page, that was this year for me. So even though these books couldn't be even any more different, they're both 5 stars in the same way for me. They both bring out this level of enthusiasm in me, and I appreciate them just the same. So I wanted to show this to show, like, books don't have to give me the same feeling to both be 5-star reads, because both of these books are 5-star reads. I enjoyed both of these books, but their purpose is different. I oftentimes hear people say, like, there's certain types of books that we should be reading, and you only read books like this, so you can't appreciate books like this. And it's just like, no, like, books can serve different purposes in your life. I love a good literary fiction, but I also am going to gravitate to Black young adult. Like, they both scratch an itch that's on me that I think I need. Like, they both mean the same thing to me, and they're both 5-star reads. But then I have a third option for a 5-star. The ridiculous 5-star read. Every now and then, if you are someone who reads a lot of books during the year, you will have a 5-star read that is just like ridiculous. You don't know why you like it. You don't know why it worked. But when it came to once you read the last page of the book, you told yourself, oh, this was fun. This is the fun 5-star read. Like, y'all hate fun. That's the 5-star read this book is. No filter and other lies. It's a y'all hate fun 5-star reads. This is the 5-star read where it's like, I get that a lot of people are not going to get it, but maybe I read this book at the perfect time, in the perfect place, and on the perfect day, and it just worked for me. Like, it brought something out of me I didn't know existed. That's this, and I think we all have 5-star reads like that, where you go in it, and you don't expect it to be 5 stars. You're just like, okay, but the more you read, the more you get into it, you sink your teeth into it, and it gets cozy, and it gets fun, it just becomes your baby. And I wanted to show 3 examples to you so you could see that, like, all 5 stars aren't made the same, but they're 5 stars all the same. Like, they just serve different purpose, but they also, this one is the best written. This is the most my type of book. And this was so unserious and fun in the best way. And so they all come together to be my perfect 5 stars. And I think when you're someone who reads a lot, you get that. You get that just because I gave something 5 stars doesn't mean I think it's just as good of a book. But it's about my enjoyment. But I want to say that everything isn't about just my enjoyment. And we'll get into that with some other ones. But there's a lot of things that go into a 5-star. But you know when you're reading a 5-star. So for me, to break down this video, for me, a 5-star is a book that accomplishes everything that it needs to accomplish. And I enjoyed it. That's what makes a 5-star. It did everything it needed to do. I do not have any issues with the book. And also, it was just amazing. Like, it transformed me in some type of way. I feel like I am a different reader before and after reading this book. This book was just a highlight. And that's why it's been really hard for me to come across a 5-star book this year, because there's a feeling I get when I read a book that's 5 stars. I think about the book long after I've closed it. And that's a 5-star read. So not only do you have to do everything right, you have to do everything right, and you become my personality. You've become my personality. I want to recommend this book to people. I want to talk about this book to people. It's just, everything was perfect. No notes. No notes. That's a 5-star read for me. Like, no notes. I absolutely loved it. So let's go into my 4-star reads. So for my I want to go to 4.5-star reads, because you give book 0.5. Sometimes a book isn't 5 stars, but it's not quite 4. You feel like you're doing it a disservice to give it 4 stars because it was so close to being 5. That's these 2 books that I read this year, Black Cake and Alice's Island. I really enjoyed both of these books. Like, I think they're more than 4 stars, but the reason why they don't sit with the 5 stars is because it's the no notes aspect. I need to want to make this book my personality. I want this book to transform me as a person, and these books didn't. They did everything perfectly, and I enjoyed them, but there's something about them that don't just fill me with so much excitement. I don't want to run and tell my mom about this book. I don't want to run and tell my man about this book, but they did everything right, and I respect the hell out of them, and they were so enjoyable. I understood exactly what the author wanted to do. I embraced what the author was trying to do, and I was the intended audience for this book. But there's something about this book, though, where I just want to fling myself off a roof if I can't tell nobody about it. These don't do that. You know, if someone came and took these books out of my home, I wouldn't be in a rush to go repurchase them, you know? It's just like, I love them. I love them even. But it doesn't, I can't say no notes. I do have notes. I do have questions. That's a 4.5-star read. And I think there is a difference between a 4.5 and a 5-star read, because when it comes to a 4.5, if someone comes and is like, but you didn't think that part in the book was a little bit weird, I won't even fight you on it. I won't even fight you on it. It's like, maybe you're right. But when it comes to these bad boys, oh, I'm fighting to the death for them. I'm fighting to the death for them. But these, if somebody came and was like, you don't think this could have been a little bit different, I would think about it and be like, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. And that's a 4.5 for me. I'm sorry. Let's get into the fours. Let's get into the fours. I got 2 books. We Deserve Monuments and 16 and Pregnant. For me, when it comes to a 4-star read, I think the book did everything right. This is where I think I might disagree with some people on this, because some people will read a 4-star book and like they have major complaints about the book. That's not me. If I read a 4-star book, I have no complaints about the book. I have 0 complaints. If I give a book 4 stars, I do not have any real complaints about the book. I think the book is perfectly good. I think the book is good as is. I wouldn't go to the author and necessarily tell them to change a single thing about the book. I think the book accomplished everything that it was trying to accomplish, and I think it's a good book. I think it's a good to great book, honestly, with 4 stars. What makes a book 4 stars, though, is the fact that I have petty beef with it. I have petty beef with it. It could be about how long it was. It could be about how short it was. It could be about a character. It could be about a certain plot point I didn't like. 4-star books are usually where I put my petty beefs. I have petty beefs with the book. Like, I'm sorry, petty beefs that don't stand up. Because when it comes to literary criticism, I take it very seriously. And I don't necessarily like when people take points from books for just being books, like a book not ending the way you want to. I don't necessarily like that. I like criticism to come with validity. And so when I talk, I don't put too much into my petty gripes. A book can be a 4-star even though I have petty gripes with it, you know? I don't make a book 2 stars just because I have petty gripes. I want to be serious about the way I talk about books, you know? And so when I knock a book down to 4, it's usually because of my petty gripes. Like, I'm not being nasty. It's just like I do have things for my personal taste that just don't necessarily work. Like, sometimes I just don't want to read a book that's 500 pages. In the case of We Deserve Monument, I wanted this book to be longer. And so, like, there's an issue. If I am deeply wanting this book to be longer. And then number 2, like, I'm not, once again, yelling from the rooftops. I'm not yelling from the rooftops about these books. Most of the time, if you see a 4-star book here, it's because it surprised me. It surprised me. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. 4 stars are where the books where I'm just like, you're a good book. That is where 4 stars lands with me. Like, you're a good book. You're a good book, and I have no complaints. And that's, I think, what makes me different, because a lot of people be complaining about their 4-star reads. And for me, I have no complaint. I can gush about both of these books, but it'll never be anything more than that. These books, I don't think, some books I think are intended to be perfect 4-star reads. It's just like, it doesn't get me jumping. It doesn't get me jumping. So for me, a 4-star read is a book that is perfectly executed, written to the best of its abilities. But when it comes to my own personal taste, when it comes to what I like to see from a book, it's not doing anything more than what is expected from a book, which when you're thinking about like in grades, that's what like a B is. Like, it's good, but it's not doing anything more than what is asked of it to be. Because at the end of the day, books should be good, books should be solid, and books should be enjoyable. And to me, that's a 4-star book. Like, good, enjoyable, solid. I don't have any real complaints about you, but if I could add things, I would. And so that's a 4-star read. Now we're going to go into 3.5s. I have one book for that. And that is Vladimir. I gave Vladimir a 3.5 star. To get a 3.5 star out of me, you're closer to getting a 4 than you are to getting a 3 usually. Usually, this sounds messy, but usually I give a 3.5 when like I don't fully want to call you a good book, when I don't fully want to admit you're a good book, that's when you get a 3.5. A 3.5, and I think this is where a lot of people get the biggest beef with 3.5s. There is nothing wrong with giving a book a 3.5. A lot of times when you give a book a 3.5, people think you didn't enjoy the book, or you disliked the book. And that is simply not true. A 3.5 for me is I have issues with the book. There are things about the book that I think aren't done well, or aren't done clearly, or my enjoyment of the book just isn't fully there. For another thing, I gave The Bodyguard and Happy Place 2 3.5s this year. And it's because I have things I have to say. I have questions. I have to ask about certain intentions. I have to ask about the way certain things were written. I have issues with characters. I have issues with pacing. I have issues with a lot of things, but they're not glaring issues. They're not glaring issues, and I don't necessarily think they get in the way of this author telling a compelling story. That's what it is. A 3.5 book is perfectly compelling. It is compelling. If you get a 3.5 out of me, I believe you are a compelling book. You are compelling and you're a good book. But I have issues. I have issues, and certain things just do not work for me. So that's what a 3.5 is. But I do think you're a good book. And biggest thing, I think you're compelling. That's the word. A 3.5 for me is compelling. Because when we go to my threes, which I gave Yellowface a 3 out of 5 star this year. A 3 out of 5 star for me can go either way. When it comes to a 3-star, what I am saying is, if someone says they don't like this book, I will hear them out. If someone says that something is poorly done in this book, I probably agree with them. But also, on the other hand, if someone really likes the book, I can see it. I can see it. When I give a book 3 stars, I think a book is fine. It is fine. If you don't think too deeply about it, it could even be good to some people. But to me, this book is just fine. To me, it's like that girl who was running in that race from Somalia and she skipped across the finish line at the end after everybody was done. That's what the book is. Like, you barely made it, but you made it. That's the perfect way to describe Yellowface to me. Like, Yellowface, towards the end, we was barely getting across the finish line, but we finally did it. And then when I'm done with the book, you are a fine book, but boy, can I list at least 10 things that could have made you a good book. That could have made you a good book. Because for me, a book has to be more than just interesting or have an interesting plot or just have interesting characters. It gotta all come together. But if you don't have it all come together, you still can be a 3-star. What keeps this book being a 3-star is that it's easy to read. It's easy to read and you will be into it. It's a very easy thing to be into. But I do think I said a 3.5 was compelling. This book wasn't compelling to me. I say that, but then I could also be lying, because I do think in many ways this book is compelling. But I guess the word I'm looking for is interesting. This book lacks interest. That's the word. This book lacks any real interest. 3-star books lack intrigue to me. As I'm reading the book, I quickly start to divest from what's going on in the book. I quickly stop caring about what happens to any character in the book. Like, that intrigue is gone. That I need to know more starts to leave. And when I'm done with the book, never once do I think of what these characters could be in the future. We're now at the number mark where, like, if a book got a sequel, I would never read the sequel. That's where we are when we are at a 3-star. Like, the book is fine. If you like it, I love it. But it's nothing more than fine. And it'll never be. With Vladimir at 3.5, this book, Kenya in Another Time, could really appreciate this book and bump it up to 4 stars. When you are at 3 for me, There'll never be a time where you'll be anything more. If any, you'll go lower before you go higher. You'll go lower before you go higher. That's with me with the 3, because that compellingness, that thing that's just like, but that's gone. By the way, I know my voice sounds crazy. I saw Beyonce twice, but do not worry for me. This does not hurt. I know it might sound like my voice hurts, but it doesn't. My voice was just gone, and it's like it's coming back. But my voice isn't scratchy, or it doesn't hurt or anything to talk. So don't think while you're watching this like, Ken, you're straining your voice. Like, I'm not. Like, I feel nothing. It's just my voice sounds like this. I don't know what to tell you, but it's giving Sophia Bush tease. Like, it's giving Sophia Bush tease. I don't know. Anyways, let's get into, like, my 2 stars. I don't really have 2.5s because I'm nasty. Once we get into these categories, I really don't got nothing for you to be thinking about 2.5s, 1.5s, like you suck. My 2-star reads. It's a book. A 2-star read for me is it's a book. And now, don't take that as like a rip, even though it is. It's a lot of books are not books. Let's start there. A lot of books are not books. A lot of books that I read that get put in that 1 star, I do not believe are like full books. Like, do not believe they constitute what we would make, I do not believe they are what we intended books to be. So no, the fact that I am saying you are a book, that is more than I give other books. That is more than I give other things. So it's a book, and I respect that you wrote a book. You wrote a book that I can read. You wrote a book that has a plot. You wrote a book that is using a language that I understand. You wrote a book that at the very least, I can get the idea of what you were trying to do. I can explain the plot to people. That is what you did, and that is a feat. Let's start there. None of this comes from mean-spiritedness, because to write a book that is bound and people can read and people can tell other people what the book is about is a feat in and of itself. So when I say you wrote a book, I truly mean that. Like, at 2 stars, you wrote a book that I respect, at least. Like, I respect that you are literally a book, and that's a lot coming from me, because I respect books. So that's what a 2 star is for me. You're a book. But where 2 stars go wrong is I don't like anything you tried to do in this book. That's how you become a 2 star for me. You laid out a plot, and your goal was to get that plot over the finish line. I don't believe you made it. That's what a 2 star means. A 2 star, I did not enjoy reading you. That's really putting it simply. I did not enjoy reading you. I did not have a good time. I do not love the writing. I don't even like the writing. I do not like the way the plot went. I do not like the characters. I do not like the events, and I damn sure don't like the ending. I do not like you. I do not like you. That's the perfect way to describe a 2, and I don't know what else to say. I do not like the book. 2 is the easiest way I can explain. If you get a 2 star, I do not like the book. If someone shows me this book, I do not like it. If someone shows me this book, I do not like it. I did not like that book. And that's what a 2 star is for me. It's just simply a book I did not like. Now a 1 star. I gave Bunny a 1 star. The other books I gave a 1 star, I've already put in my unhaul closet, so I don't have it anymore. Remember when I said you're at least a book? That's what I mean when I say Bunny. I don't know if Bunny's fully a book. I don't know if Bunny is a book. I can't say in good faith that Bunny is a book. I can't say it. And when I start giving book 1 stars, it's because I do not fully believe they accomplished what books were meant to accomplish. I don't know if they tell a story about a moment in time, a person, a place, an event, a character, and sees it through. I do not know if there are events, if there's narrative structure, if there is cause and effect, if there's beginning and end. I don't know. And that was Bunny to me. So that's what a 1 star is to me. I am utterly confused on your intentions, on your purpose, on your being, on why you exist, why you needed to tell this story, how this story got published. And the biggest thing a 1 star book isn't doing is, to me, accomplishing what a book really needs to be: coherent. When I say you're at least a book, I mean you're coherent. It is hard to write something that is coherent. It is hard to write something that other people will read and be able to understand. That's why when I say at least you're a book, that is an accomplishment. That is a hard thing to do. So when you get down to that 1 star, I am literally saying I don't fully believe you are coherent. Like, you are something that I personally, obviously these are my own personal opinions, I fully understand. Like, this author wrote something and I as the reader do not get it. I don't get anything you were trying to do, and I don't get the words that are being put on the page. Take, for example, last year, The Other Black Girl. The Other Black Girl is not a coherent book. It's not a book that makes sense. There's no sense. There's nothing to establish a basis. There's nothing to establish an idea. Nothing for me to sink my teeth into. Nothing to ground me in a story. And that's where you get 1 star. When I start poking holes in your plot because it just wasn't done well. It wasn't executed well. Now, Bunny, I just don't understand. So it ain't even about poking holes because I don't even know what the hell going on. But like when you take a book like The Other Black Girl or The Overnight Guest, I think, what's that book by Megan Miranda that I gave 1 star? Like, this don't make sense. This don't make sense. And that's what a 1 star book is for me. For a 1 star, I don't even fully believe you're a book. To get 1 star out of me, I don't even fully believe you are a real book. Like, I don't. Like, some people are like, at least it's a book. I don't even believe that. I think we might need to investigate further if even it's a real book. So those are my ratings. So going forward on this channel, when you hear me talk about giving certain books certain ratings, this is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about. This is how I feel, you know? And so now we know 5-star perfect, 10, 10, 10 across the board. I have no notes. I will battle you about it, period. 4, you're a perfect book. You're perfectly good. Like, you're perfectly good. There's just more I think you could have been. You didn't live up to your fullest potential. But what you gave me, good, great even. But, ooh, you could have been a little bit more. 3.5, compelling. There's issues, and those issues are glaring. But you were compelling. You were compelling, and you sucked me in. At a 3-star, you're good. You're good. You're good. Nothing more, nothing less. You're good. Like, you worked. You worked. At a 2, I just didn't like you. Like, I do not like this book. Do not recommend. Do not get it when other people like you. And 1, ooh, I don't even know if you're a book girl. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. And my voice will not sound like this, but it actually will, because like the next one is a vlog. And so like I'm vlogging. I will see you guys then though, but peace.